It's 4th and 10. We're on the 50-yard line with 3 seconds to go. What's going to happen next? We don't really care on this podcast, but we are going to talk about football, fantasy football, and cats today on Scooch Ovaries.
Scooch over.
Hey, can you scooch over?
You want me to scooch over?
Just a little bit. Scooch.
Scooch?
Scooch.
Scooch. Scooch ovaries.
Okay, so Mary, we have a whole heck of a lot in common. We've been friends for a very long time, but one thing we don't have a lot in common is your love for football does not encapsulate my love for football.
No, I don't love football. I don't like football. So no.
Did you ever have any team that you rooted for?
I did. I had this is going to be weird because it goes all the way back, but it was the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, I would have never expected that.
Tony Dorsett, very young. Remember my dad having us watch games when we were kids? Not having us watch games. The family always had sports on growing up. That was my life. It was on in the living room. If there was an event, if there was a boxing match, a baseball game, a football game, we were watching it. We were not watching basketball or soccer though, or World Cup, but wrestling, which isn't a sport. So
the WWE, like the come on, brother, and that. Okay.
Yeah, that was the later years. That was a big family event too. But the football games were always on. It was a big thing, and my family liked the Giants.
Okay.
And that has carried over to my niece and my sister. And my sister also, I didn't say hockey. My sister loves hockey.
Okay.
She's a Ranger fan. And I've gone with her to games. And I learned a little bit. And I do enjoy going to baseball games. But football, it was the Cowboys for like 5 minutes, and I always remembered that was a cool team and I liked it, but no one would ever tell you that I was a Cowboys fan. Like, no one, that wasn't true. I'm like, but that's what I kind of remember and I enjoyed. But my family are Giants fans.
Okay, well, but growing up in New York, usually it's the Giants and the Jets, but
Yeah.
I think the Jets kind of have a bad reputation. But
Well, they played New Jersey, and,
Yeah.
and so did the Giants, and yet somehow
I knew that the Giants played in New Jersey.
the Jets were, I think, my brother Tommy's team, because Tommy really liked to go against the family grain just to be funny and ornery. He was a Mets fan and he was a Jets fan, I want to say. And
Okay.
my family were Yankees fans religiously and Giants fans.
And Giants fans, okay.
Yeah. I want to say that my dad was a fan of the football team. Was it the Dodgers? The Brooklyn Dodgers? No, wait, are we talking? Oh gosh, that was baseball. That was bad. It was a bad mistake I made. Brooklyn Dodgers were in New York a million years ago. Then they moved to LA.
Yes.
That was my dad's team before the Yankees.
Okay. Yes. The Brooklyn Dodgers were the OG Dodgers, and now they moved to LA. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, now my football relationship just kind of faded away when I didn't have to watch it anymore. I didn't, and I realized, it's not something that I enjoy for me, but a lot of the people in my life that I care about adore it. It's just not a thing that I get a big kick out of. So it's funny to me that you are to me a big football fan, even though you might not think you're a really big football fan. To me, I mean, early in the days in our friendship, you're like wearing a Chiefs shirt, and I'm like, what is that? What's happening here?
See, I was a Chiefs fan when it wasn't cool to be a Chiefs fan.
She was. I can confirm that.
Yes. So now, have you ever been to a football game? Like, did you ever go to the Jets or the Giants or no?
Not one time.
Okay.
No, not even I don't even think I ever went to a high school or college game.
Oh, okay.
Never been to a live football game ever.
Oh, see, that's part of the ambiance. Even if it's not about football, it's just the energy is high and gosh, and I know with my high school there was like snacks and happy people, and it was cold, so you wore your shirt, and everyone was banding together to root for the team. So there's a lot more about football than just football.
This is not going to win me any points. I always equated it to the fact that people would say, it's like war. And I'm like, I don't like war either. We're going to gain ground. I'm like, from who? What? George Carlin with the Indians? That joke? George Carlin with the Native Americans? That joke? And then, just in general, us taking land, it doesn't turn out well.
I guess
when we take land.
I never equated it with war. I always thought it was like, I mean, I guess it is what it is. You're just bonding with the like-minded people to root for your team.
That's my piece of grass. What?
But then afterwards, you go and you celebrate, and especially in high school, maybe you had a dance, and it was all really good. And then when you get to the professional, it's really fun. Well, especially in Kansas City, because they have tailgating, and so you can drink before, during, and after a game. You have barbecue, and it's a lot of fun. I never thought about equating it to war, though. I always thought it was more of camaraderie with the people who you are on your team with.
And I'm not saying it was war against the other team. I'm saying the concept of getting land is basically what war is. Like I'm gaining ground. I'm getting land. I'm pushing you off the land I want. That's war.
Yeah, but
Literally.
then like the next play happens and then the next team gains the ground. Like war, it's usually like when you gain the ground, you take the ground forever. It's not like, okay.
Yeah, so it's like they made a fair use arrangement so it wasn't so offensive. Okay. It's like, oh, we'll let you come back and get the land, just like we did with the Native Americans. Excuse me, that didn't actually happen. So, I mean, I know that I'm being very, very simplistic, and I'm not going to gain any friends, and I'm considering cutting this whole part out.
I just had never heard of it like that, especially
Wait,
when...
for real?
Yeah, I've never heard of it like that.
Really?
Yeah. I'm also a fan of... the Chiefs, which I don't think that name in itself probably isn't a great...
I don't feel like Yankees is super, elevated or evolved. Yankees? That's not a good name.
Oh, yeah, because it was what they called the people in the North.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, so...
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Like the New York Racists. Like, we didn't have that. That wasn't a team. Cutting all this out. All of it.
But I was
Stop
thinking
football.
that was more spatially, like I guess the Yankees were north and then the Rebels were in the south. But yeah, I guess you're right. At the end of the day, it was all kind of based on a war.
And it wasn't a negative thing when it was told to me that football is kind of like war and that you're gaining ground. Because when I was raised, we were very patriotic about World War II. Mm-hmm. Yay, we won. That was good.
But like Germany wasn't like, okay, we took over Poland. No, Poland, you take over Germany. Like,
yeah,
it's a flippy floppy with the football.
Yeah, and there was more, less ball throwing and more killing.
Yeah. I guess they had like uniforms, but they probably did have helmets.
Helmets, uniforms.
Okay, I stand corrected. I got enlightened.
That's my land. I want that land. It's not your land. Yes, it is my land. I'm going to jump up and down.
Okay.
Look, I'm not any kind of intellectual when it comes to this kind of stuff. I just would rather watch a movie. I like a story arc.
Yeah.
I guess the story arc of he came from behind. It's the comeback kid. I'm like, I could see that. And then there could be music and maybe there's a kiss. Like maybe, I'd rather watch that than yay, he had tight pants on and he got to the 7-yard line. But
well, there is also, depending on how much you watch it, like Patrick Mahomes started off in Texas and then he came to Kansas City, and he was this phenom like his first 1 or 2 years, and now he's this great champion. So if you've kind of been following the whole sequence, it is a story within itself, but you have to be in it to know that much. And some people are really committed to that. Some people really do know the history of football and especially their team. So it can be kind of like a soap opera, like a reality show, depending on how far you're into it.
And you have a true affection for Patrick. Mm-hmm. You think of him as like your son-in-law or something, or stepson or nephew. You have like a familiar affection for him.
I do. I have a familiar affection for him. And you know who else I'm starting to really have a familiar affection for?
Who?
Jason Kelce. Which is Travis Kelce, who dates Taylor, his brother.
Yeah, he seems fun.
Yeah, very funny, very, very, very sweet guy. Like if he was my neighbor, which we would never live in the same neighborhood. I am poor. Him and Travis, they just, which is going to happen to Scooch Overys. They just got a $1 million contract for Amazon to have their podcast.
I was going to ask you if you heard about their podcast and how they're now going to be one of the higher paid I think it's 10 million.
I've listened to their podcast often.
You have?
Yeah, it's really funny.
Yeah, that's
Jason
good.
steals the show.
Jason's funny. But yeah, you're right. They wouldn't live in your neighborhood. They'd live in West Chase.
Yeah.
That was very inside Tampa.
That was very inside Tampa.
And I'm not even sure if I really understand it. But I feel that's where the good sushi is.
It is. They probably live in Cheval or one of the islands like Harbor Island.
Siesta Key, if I may turn it into a Sarasota.
Oh, yes, Siesta Key.
Lakewood Ranch, if I could turn it into a Bradenton.
I think they're a little too good for Lakewood Ranch. Now, you and I are not too good for Lakewood Ranch. But
I'm not too good for Lakewood Ranch. No, I'm just good enough for Lakewood Ranch. Because Lakewood Ranch is hoity-toity, but it's hoity-toity light.
They got a lot of money, but they still have a Chili's.
Yeah. Oh, no. Because that's the mark of a good quality upscale neighborhood. If you got a Chili's.
No, I think it's the opposite. Like, I think
Yeah, I
Chili's
know.
is like an every guy, like an Applebee's. So if you live in an upscale neighborhood that has a Chili's or an Applebee's, you're not better than us.
And we didn't bunny trail enough in the last episode. So if I may bunny trail off on this restaurant trail you just created with your machete and you cleared some wood so I can walk through there, I'm just going to go over there off trail for a second and say, look how the mighty have fallen. Ruby Tuesday's demise was something I totally didn't see coming and was shocked by. I went to a Ruby Tuesdays with you. We had an amazing guacamole made at the table, ice cold blue moons. Sat at the bar, the floor was clean. We had a wonderful time. We thought, oh my God, American casual dining at its best. A couple years go by, I go with Sarah. She's like, what is this shithole you've taken me to? And she didn't say shithole. She said, what is this trashy restaurant you've taken me to? The floor was dirty. Nobody knew what was going on. The bathroom was a mess. The seating situation didn't work. The waiter made 72 mistakes. It was horrible. And now I think they're closed. And it was so fucking good when we went that time.
It was.
Remember?
It was. I've gone over this before, but I do have a set of parents who lives in Tucson, and one of the best guacamole I ever had was Tucson. But Tucson's like authentic Mexican food, and I never thought the guacamole would top that. And I'll tell you what, Ruby Tuesdays in its heyday was awfully darn close.
It was so good. Mm-hmm. So there's a place in Sarasota I have to take you to. I can't even think of the name of it right now. But I'll look it up and we'll go. And they have really good tableside guacamole. It did need a little more heat from my taste, but it was pretty good.
Okay.
We'll have to go there.
Okay. It's just, I mean, I think guacamole is delicious. But to have a chain restaurant really do guacamole up good, I thought that said a lot for Ruby Tuesdays. But then, we should have saw it coming because we went there one time and they were like, hey, no more tableside guacamole. And I was like, stop the presses. What is going on?
Yeah, you put a pin in that, and I was kind of like, all right. You were like, uh-oh. And I'm like, wait, is that the sign? And you're like, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. The first one is we no longer make tableside guacamole. It's the end.
It was a single tear just slowly coming down. It was pretty dramatic.
Well, nobody's gonna fuck with you when it comes to guacamole. I think they know.
Yeah.
There's few things you'll fight over, but guacamole's one of them.
Yeah, I like to think I'm a pretty easygoing person, but don't mess with Mama's avocados. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, with you, it's guacamole. With Sarah, it's how I pronounce gyro.
Please tell me you've never gone to Tarpon Springs and ordered a gyro sandwich.
I'm sure I have. I'm that cocky. May I have a hero? I don't hear Tina Turner singing. No. Could I have a gyro? It's gyro in New York. I don't know why, but it's gyro in New York.
Probably because they mispronounced it.
At a Greek restaurant, it's gyro in New York. Are they just saying, we're tired, we're going to let them say it wrong? Are you literally saying that all of Long Island is allowed to say gyro wrong?
So the Greek owners of a Greek
Gyro.
restaurant won't say like, oh, would you like a gyro sandwich? They would say a gyro.
No, we would tell the waiter and he'd nod and walk away. Oh, they were patronizing us.
Yeah, I'm not saying there was spit in your gyro sandwich, but I'm not saying it.
Spit in my gyro all day, but don't touch my gyro. We don't need another gyro. I'm going to keep going.
We don't need to find a way home.
We don't. I don't know. Now I want a gyro.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. I can't stop saying it that way.
One thing I have to really shout out to Florida, and this is really getting off the subject, but
Oh, no.
I was 25 years old when I moved to Florida, and here's a list of things I didn't even know were foods, and I love them. Gyros, plantanos, what's the little hot pocket thing? Empanadas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, beans and rice. I didn't know there was a difference between Spanish food and Mexican food. And I've always been a big fan of Mexican food, but Spanish food is phenomenal.
It's a lot of different cultures being allowed to be themselves and continue to make the food that they want to make and not being forced to have Wonder Bread,
Yes.
which apparently I can't eat anymore. But that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a topic for another day.
Or it was maybe even a topic we've had before.
My sugar's a little high.
But speaking of football, and we've already established that
Segue.
you're not a fan, and not everyone's supposed to be a fan. So you probably do not participate in fantasy football.
No, I used to joke on stage that I had a fantasy cornhole league, which I always thought was a great idea and would get a good laugh. But there'd also be kind of an annoyance in the room, which I've experienced my whole adult life. Because I don't have a pet in my house and I don't like to watch football. These are two things that society says, oh, you catless lady, catless, childless lady, which I'm pretty sure is code for lesbian. Here's a funny thing. There's a lot of lesbians who like football. So it's another place where I've just got to demerit. I am never getting off probation. I have been on lesbian probation for 24 years. I'm exhausted.
But I'm sure there's a lot that who dislike football, who'd rather do something else on a Sunday or a Monday than watch football.
Life in America is easier if you enjoy football.
I guess I never thought about it because I've always enjoyed football.
It's a patriotic thing. Because it's war.
Or a game.
It's a game about war. You don't think anyone's ever said that to you before, for real?
No, I've never heard that.
I'm the first one? Did I imagine it? Did I make that up?
No, it probably is. I mean, I can kind of understand what you're saying. It's just, then you flip it and and the next team tries to do the same thing. But yeah, I do. I guess the high concept I do understand.
Well,
it's about gaining ground and getting the ball down the field. And
yeah, and there's no guns and there's balls. So, I mean, there's lots of things that are different and there's pretty colors.
yeah. And you can only gain 100 yards, then that's it.
If you want to add to the war part, I mean, there's a band that marches.
Oh, as being
like soldiers would.
Yes, that actually, the marching band did start as part of the military. I know a lot because my daughter's was in the high school marching band, and now she's first year in the college marching band.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so she was the drum major for 2 years in high school, and she had told me that a lot of what they're doing is because it originally started as the Army marching band. So
yeah,
okay, see, the more you know. Bling.
Where did cheerleaders come from?
Oh, I don't know. But you know
what? A
what?
lot of potential punchlines there if you and I were assholes. So we're not gonna.
But you know what? I think the cheerleaders, they've gotten throughout the years, they've gotten very athletic in their own right. You know, they do flips and twists and things like that. It's not just pom-poms, and they've gotten very competitive and very athletic in their own right.
They bring it on, and they bring it on too. I never saw those. I think Kirsten Dunst is in one.
Okay.
And we're done. I don't know. I like Pitch Perfect. See, again, cheerleader movies I'm not going to watch. Pitch Perfect all day.
Okay. Well, even like going to the cheerleaders, you're going to a live game. The cheerleaders used to just sort of be with the pom-poms, and now they do like it's a little bit more gymnastic-y, a little bit more acrobatic-y. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. They are athletes.
Yes, yes.
They're athletes.
And they do like their own tournaments, and they have their own first, second place. See, I don't know very much about it, but I do know in their own right, there's very much a competition and very much a whole society about cheerleaders and people who've been cheerleaders.
It's pretty fascinating. I'm going to bring it back a little bit to entertainment. Friday Night Lights, a very, very popular TV show in America.
I don't want your life.
I don't know what you're doing. I never saw one fucking episode. I never watched any episodes ever. I never watched one. You know what else I didn't watch? Ted Lasso. Not football, but sports.
I've never watched an episode of either of those either, but I do remember, and I don't know why it sticks in my mind, there was a very famous, when Friday Night Lights was originally a movie, and they used to always show like the clips of the movie, not the One Tree Hill, the Dawson Creek guy. He'd always, like in all the movies, he'd always, like in all the clips of all the movies, he'd be like, I don't want your life.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, because he's talking to his father, and his father wants him to be whatever he is. Was it a football hero?
Yeah.
And what did he want to be like in like High School Musical? He wanted to sing and dance?
I don't want your life. I don't know. Maybe he was the coach. I don't know.
I'm picking up a little Southern accent there.
Yeah, and it's annoying.
I'm not annoyed. I'm fine with it.
In fact, you can talk like it as much as you want to, because I wouldn't say rude things.
But if I can stay with the sports and movies kind of thing, I really like Major League. And Bull Durham. These are baseball comedies.
Oh, okay. Bull Durham was really good.
It's different. Baseball comedies are different.
Bull Durham was good. Have you ever seen Rudy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you cry?
Maybe.
It was really good.
It was good, though. I liked Rudy. I enjoyed Rudy. I mean, The Longest Yard with Burt Reynolds 100 years ago, and then they remade it with Adam Sandler, our not favorite actor. Neither one of us really crossed the street for Adam Sandler, but
I mean, I think he's probably a nice person.
I'm sure he's delightful.
I'm not a fan of his comedies, but
no. The best thing he did was that Hanukkah song, in my opinion, and that the movie with the jewels.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think he has
Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems. That, and there was another one about his sister dying of cancer or something. I think the two series
I hope that wasn't a comedy.
No, I was going to say, I think the two serious roles he's done, he's gotten like a lot of critical like acclamation. Happy People or something like that.
Oh, that sounds right.
Yeah.
That was a good one. I remember that. But, you know, we were going to talk about fantasy football, and I dragged you into a movie conversation again.
So you used to have a joke, like you established, about fantasy...
Cornhole.
And we were talking about other things that maybe could be fantasy. So maybe like people who go to church and they have like a church supper afterwards, maybe they could have like a fantasy potluck.
You know what? That's so funny you should mention that, because let's just throw to commercial right now.
Okay, let's go to commercial.
Hello, friends. Do you feel like you're missing out because you're not a part of the fantasy football league all your friends and family are in? Do you feel like because you're not a big fan of football that you're going to have some FOMO? Well, don't worry, because we've got the answer. It's called
Fantasy Church Potluck.
What did you say?
Fantasy Church Potluck.
That sounds amazing. How does it go? What do you do?
Just like fantasy football, you're going to take a look at this Sunday's comings and goings and figure out who you want to vote for.
Are we going to predict who's going to bring what to the potluck?
We are.
I think that Glinda was going to bring her famous mac and cheese.
In the Fantasy Church Potluck draft, I chose rolls.
You did, but who did you think was going to bring them?
I chose rolls, and I chose Melinda.
I had Melinda bringing the potato salad.
A very unpopular choice that I decided to go with was the Jell-O salad with marshmallows, and bam! Miss Bonnie brought in 2 whole helpings of it.
Oh my God, did you see that Amber brought her ambrosia? I thought my head was going to explode when that happened.
I think maybe bringing napkins shouldn't be considered in the fantasy church potluck. And the meat dishes, I feel like the meat dishes should be worth 2 points because everyone's going to bring chicken.
The real fight starts, though, when we get to the dessert table.
The people picking gluten-free, I mean, is controversial because, yes, there will be the gluten-free, but will it be the popular choice?
I'm going to be at the gluten-friendly table. I say, fuck you, diabetes. Are those chocolate chips? Holy mackerel, Gertrude brought the cheesecake.
And who's going to bring the lemonade or the fruit punch?
I lose every week. I always think someone's going to bring sweet tea, and they don't.
They can bring half and half sweet tea. Or they could bring the sherbet punch with the 7-Up in it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
That's good stuff. So don't forget to pick your players and pick your dishes and see what's going to happen this week at the
Fantasy Church Potluck. Wow, that sponsor, I think, was originally intended to make other people hear how well we do commercials and sign us up to be sponsors. And I don't think we're going to have any sponsors after this.
If we don't make mistakes, we won't learn, Robin.
That's true. That's true.
You have to fail before you can succeed.
Part of the dance sometimes is taking a step backwards.
Ooh,
I just saw that on a meme. Yeah.
I totally want that on a pillow.
Yeah, it's really good.
That should take over for Live, Love, Laugh. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we're going to have time for cats. We may have to talk about them in another episode. Can you hold out to the next week?
Those are Mama's precious babies.
Yeah, we're definitely not getting to that shit because that's going to be half an hour. You and your fucking cats. Okay. I think we covered everything except for the segments that didn't make it as segments. You ready?
Okay. This first segment that didn't make it as a segment, still being on the topic of football, is why is artificial turf only controversial in football? You know, it should be controversial everywhere.
It should, especially my lanai. I don't know if that's AstroTurf or indoor-outdoor carpeting, but potato. I got one.
What's that?
Football. Why?
Apparently, it's a war game.
Uh-huh.
My next segment that didn't make it as a segment is, does your car really know the difference from 3,000 miles to 3,100 miles?
Hondas do.
Do they? They make it like, oh, you got to change the oil. Does your car know? Does your car know once you hit 3,000?
It's a really good question. We're not going to talk about it because it's not a segment, but it's like AI, but it's automotive intelligence.
Oh, look at
What?
you.
Mind
look at
blower.
you. Okay, what's your last segment that didn't make it as a segment?
Hey, Robin, why is it so hard to come up with segments that didn't make it as segments? Segment.
Because they're stupid.
So stupid.
So dumb.
Did we have fun this week?
Oh, always, always.
Yeah, I broke your heart a little bit about football, and I, made people dislike me even more.
You expanded my mind on the thinking of football.
She always finds a Midwest spin. Always a Midwest spin. Hey, join us next week where we're going to do a little bit more of this and hopefully other stuff too on Scooch Ovaries. Scooch over.
Hey, can you scooch over?
You want me to scooch over?
Just a little bit. Scooch.
Scooch?
Scooch.
Scooch. Scooch Ovaries.